Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for joining us today at our Women in Web3 Empowerment and Opportunities panel. Today, I am very honored to have three of these really amazing ladies in the Web3 to join us. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Gillian. I'm the founder and fair director of Digital Art Fair. I'm a female entrepreneur as well as a art curator and fair director of Digital Art Fair. Um, in the Web3, we have heard a lot about development from female entrepreneurs. So today, the topic is about that, about what have us female, what have we done so far in Web3, and what are some of the special projects that are worth talking about, and hopefully we can share some insights to our audience today here live, and also we'll record these panels to be shared on the social media channels for them to have a look, listen to it, and hopefully they get inspired by it. So first of all, let me introduce two of my panelists here. Ines Gafsi, which is the COO and co-founder of the Feel Group, and Hanis Harmiles, which is on the Instagram handle is called NFT Queen Asia, and has been sharing a lot of very interesting events around Web3 space. And I actually met Hanis in Bali one time during the was a Web3 festival that we went to. I'll let you share more later on. And the last panelist we have here is Vinci. Vinci is it's best to let Sam Vinci to introduce herself, but maybe we let each of the panelists introduce herself for a little bit, for a minute, perhaps. For me, Ines, would you like to start?
Sure. Thanks everyone for joining today's event. When I received the invitation for a Women in Web3, I felt a little bit like an imposter because I don't really think I'm an expert in Web3, but I think no one is because it's a very new field and we're all learning and growing in it. And so for my background, I run a platform called Female Entrepreneurs Worldwide, where for the past 7 years, I've been helping women start businesses. So I work with a lot of entrepreneurs in Hong Kong, but also China and APAC in general, where I basically give them opportunity to network, to connect with experts, mentors, investors. So we have a large community of over 20,000 women registered on our platform. And so we used to do pre-COVID a lot of offline activities like you could see. And we always had it at heart to bring women to learn more about technology. For example, bringing Sophia the robot. This was about actually 5 years ago in Shanghai, where we just really want to make women understand what are the key developments in technology and what are the opportunities for their business. And so this is really at the heart of the work that I do in educating women and bringing experts in different fields of technology to really help them understand what they could do really with this technology for their business. On top of this, I also lead a charity called Inspiring Girls. This is the Hong Kong chapter of this international charity that bring basically female role models to connect with girls in school. And what we found really important as well is also bringing girls to understand more about potential STEM careers, because and we work with companies like BitMEX, which is a trading cryptocurrency company, to show the girls what they could do basically in crypto. We also work, let's say, with Microsoft, where we bring girls to learn about AI technology. So for me, I think what's really important in bringing women more in this space is really to educate them and start early. And this is, what we do is Inspiring Girls.
Amazing. There's something that's very close to my heart about cultivating a sort of like entrepreneurship and bring technology closer to the younger generation. And that's really inspiring. Thank you, Ines, for sharing. And Hannes, are you?
Sure, thank you. Hi, everyone. Well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you for inviting me. And I know Digital Art Fair actually really plays such an important place in me because it all started from here as well, where I got inspired to see last year when it was the same place that you guys organized here, that I started seeing the evolution of how NFTs are actually helping to shift the culture and shift how, in general, people are seeing arts and also wanting to be part of a community. So my background is I actually come from banking and consulting background. For the past 15 years, I worked in corporates, and then pandemic happened. Somehow I started actually advising startups within the DeFi space, and I started to learn a lot more about blockchain as a technology. And coming from finance background, you realize that if you understand how a typical traditional finance work, that's how DeFi, which is decentralized finance, can work as well, but a lot more from a peer-to-peer type of use case and business model. So with that, it became an interest, and I started to use that as a point for me to study more and learn more about blockchain as a technology, understanding like different chains, how does it work from protocols. And from there, I started to create a platform called NFT Queen Asia, which I use as my virtual ID to educate and advocate about how we can use Web3 technology to monetize from different perspectives, like from a corporate, from schools, even from creators. Because essentially, Web3 is about, at its core, is the relationship between a brand or a company to the customer, your consumers itself. What kind of use case you want to bring them in? How do you want to bring them into bring in the relationship between you and your party in this? So that's something that I've been working on. And of course, for the past 4 months, I've actually been traveling around to immerse myself with the hype of Web3. So I was around in Paris, in Bali, Dubai, as well as Singapore, to understand, like what people say, to immerse yourself with the hype. You kind of have to immerse yourself and understand how does it work and why this hype is actually a hype. And of course, majority of the people that I've met there are majority male. So I'm usually the only female there, even like with dinners, even like having conversations with the investors. And I see there's a huge need of how we want to start empowering women in terms of joining this. So on top of that, this is why I'm actually building the next thing, which is the future of work model, is what I want to call it. So I'm building a DAO, which is decentralized autonomous organization, where we're giving the future of work model to consultants, to people who have specific skills within products or marketing or even legal to join our organization and make them become, they are the contributors and they are also the owners for the organization. And this is something that we're working on with my team. So stay tuned for that. And the name is actually called Reinvent DAO. And soon, once we want to launch this, we want to build a community of like-minded people. And we want to bring everyone on board in terms of joining this. So stay tuned to that. Thank you, Gillian.
Thank you, Hanis. And then, do we have Sam here? We have Vinci. Vinci is joining us from the metaverse. Hi. Hello. There.
Hi, everybody. It's so lovely to be here. It's such an honor. And, I just feel like we're all at this new digital renaissance era, right? With the onset of the metaverse and Web3. It's so inspiring. And thank you for inviting me to share my personal journey and story of how I ended up here. So I've come up as a music artist and a producer and multimedia creative. So as you can see right now, I'm piloting this character called Vinci via motion capture, and I'm streaming live from Unreal Game Engine. And I just really love experimenting with different technologies and pushing the boundaries and following the flow of creativity. So finding myself in this space of the Web3 and the metaverse was a very natural cultural fit, and I've managed to connect with like-minded people in the community. And so this cover art behind me is from one of my songs called Power to Load. There's another cover art if you flip to the next one. If you don't, that's okay. There we go. This is a song that I made called Level Up to Nirvana. And that was an interesting song because the meaning behind it was actually, it was a tribute to the open metaverse. I believe, we are leveling up to Nirvana. And what is Nirvana? Well, it's a state of mind. It's a state of positivity and abundance. And I feel like from a cultural perspective, that is like at the heart of this whole movement with women, but everybody. So that's what fuels my creativity. And I've also channeled like the music that I made into various music videos. So if you flip to the next one, there's a song I made called I Liberate, and you can see it there. And so, yeah, I produce my own tracks, I sing on it. And if you go to the next one, there's a music video called I Came, I Saw, I Conquered. And this is really fun because this is like her being a superheroine in the metaverse, and you can see she kind of, well, I won't spoil it, you can watch it, but she essentially breaks free. And so part of like all my creativity is like I'm thinking about the future, like a futurist from an imaginations point of view, and I'm really inspired by like, you know, Walt Disney and theme parks and just how far you can take it with the imagination. And then the purpose behind it is seeing it translate to positive real world impact. That's the whole goal of it. And what I love about Web3 is it's all about collaboration and cooperation with each other and lifting each other up. It's like the classic, you know, rising tide lifts all boats scenario. And it's really interesting with the story of the Vinci avatar. It started off with her being like very much like a superheroine, you know, very badass, you know, like all the action moves. But as I evolved and developed over time, I actually recently wrote a novel, a science fiction novel, with a cast of characters besides Vinci and a population. And that I'm going to be launching with, you know, utilizing tokenomics and Web3 NFTs and metaverse open world building. And that is what really excites me because that's how I can involve the community with the story. And it's interesting because she starts off like this superheroine, but when I did the process of writing the novel, I had to do like this deep inner soul work to realize like what does it mean an avatar, like who are you? And characters can be super multi-dimensional, and creating a story that, you know, has a purpose for changing lives. And so it was a very cathartic journey writing the science fiction novel, and I'm really excited to share it with the world, and I hope it inspires people and changes lives because that's why I do what I do.
Wow. I'm really Vinci, I have not expected, you know, like this video because it's really cool. Did you make this yourself?
Yeah, I collaborated with a digital artist, but yeah, I'm the creative
Amazing.
director as well. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing. I would definitely, I think our audience would love to get the links of your videos and the novels that you're writing, and then please do share that later on. We'll put it on our channels to share with our audience.
The novel's not out yet, but stay tuned.
Will do. Great. So thank you, three of our panelists, for joining us here. Is a really wealth of different experience arranged like among four of us. I think like, you know, we all do different things, but we all kind of share the same goal. One of the very obvious one is gender equality and also empowering women in the space. Which is which then we can dive into our discussion today's topic is like how do we encourage women to get into the Web3 and the technology space, which is something that I guess we all have something to share. But first, let's open the conversation with what do we observe in the Web3 space, right? I have been in the Web3 space for a little bit over than 2 years. And Hanis, yourself, and Ines, and Vinci, you guys all have been in the space for a little while for now. So what are your observations, and how do you, from your own experience, how, you know, and approximately, like Hanis earlier, you mentioned, you know, you usually the only girl, only female in a dinner table. Same for me. Like very, very, very often it's just me and a bunch of men in a VC conversation or a conference, etc. How do you feel about that? And from your observation, of your opinion, maybe to start with Ines.
Sure. So I guess I've been very privileged in a way to always observe what women are building in terms of businesses, because they would come to us, say, okay, I'm launching my business, this is what I'm doing. So I feel we got a chance to observe trends in a way. And definitely, I would say the past few years, we see more and more women transitioning their maybe more traditional business into Web3. Just to give some example, one of our members has a SaaS company, and she's basically gathering photographers to helping them. It's a community of photographers to help them sell their project and connect them with people that would want to hire them. And then she started also building this other platform called Articoin, where actually she used arts, photography, or other type of art to raise funds for charities. And that obviously using the Web3 technology, using NFTs. And I felt that reminds me a lot of like why I do the work that I do, because women in general don't build businesses just for the sake of money. They always try to think, okay, how could I have a better impact in society? How could like the business that I'm building will really either save the planet in a way, or like really thinking more than just them and money. And so the way that she's building her platform is also really thinking of the impact on the planet that obviously Web3 technology have. We all know that it's obviously using Ethereum and all these kind of things generate a lot of pollution in a way. So she's really also thinking like the whole technology on how to make it more sustainable. So I really love that, to see that women really sort of onboarding into Web3, but really also thinking how they could benefit us all through the businesses that they build. And because I have this also. So it's still, unfortunately, a small number, though, of women. And I want to say that we've been creating a lot of opportunities for our members to learn how they could transition from, let's say, being an architect, and what would be the opportunity, right, to use Web3 maybe to engage certain clients. And another example that I have seen that was working quite well is using Web3 technology. One of our members is using Web3 technology to create the avatars that HSBC has launched. So that was a really successful project, but also at the hype of last year. So in a way got a bit unknown in the community, but like there are women definitely like joining, jumping on the train and starting shifting their business into Web3. I think for girls, what I observe is that I think they're all quite already like native in the metaverse, right? Which is really exciting in a way. We could see that the future generation actually probably will be a bit much more advanced than our generation. But I still think it's really important that we show them the opportunities in terms of what kind of careers they could really have in Web3. So this is a lot of the work that we do is trying to link corporates with these young talents and how we could sort of cultivate an interest from that perspective.
That's really great to hear. Like your observation, the entrepreneur side. Like we have been doing something, right? Quite a lot compared to what it, like I would say a decade ago when I was graduating from school, and people were like, okay, there was literally very few like organization like yours to help women to learn more about entrepreneurial skills. Share a little bit about what I've done for Digital Alpha, and what was really close to what Ines was saying, that female overall generally, we don't really start a business just to make money, because there are many other ways to raise money in Hong Kong especially, or in Asia. You can buy a property, you can invest in different stock or crypto. Starting a business for either female or male difficult, and without the big network of other females come together and learning about skills and being I guess like giving advice to is actually something very rare for a female entrepreneur. And I'm glad that to hear that in the Web3 space, Ines is doing something great for our audience. And if you guys want to know more, please do search for the female entrepreneur worldwide. Yes, great. How about you, Hanis? What have you observed from your... I must say that I've seen you everywhere in the Web3 space event, and I was really glad to read about what you share, because I mean, most of the people can't, just go to different events, overall, and you have done it for quite some time, like last 6 months, I would say, wasn't it?
4-5 months.
4-5 months, and I would love to hear your thoughts and what you have done in the Web3 space and what you have observed.
Sure. So first things first, from my observation, Web3 in general first. Let's say we go to the basic of what Web3 is. So Web3 is the next internet evolution, right? And what is it essentially is, it's shifting the content from 2D to 3D, yeah? And it's also integrating to blockchain as a technology, where it gives the power to users, the customers, of how they're seeing the whole decentralization, tokenization, and the whole tokenomics comes out of this. So when you go to communities, when you talk to the mass market, people usually see blockchain as something that is so technical. You know, the whole crypto industry, it's like, oh, what is this? How can I invest in crypto? What is this NFTs? Like, what kind of a wallet do I need to have? So the basic underlying technology or experience that a user will have to go through is just not really, I would say, friendly, user-friendly. So first things foremost, what I noticed is that women in general, when they see something that is quite technical, they started to back off because, oh, this is too technical for me to understand. So I started to see that as something that there's a gap and there's a need in the community, in the society, where NFT Queen Asia is actually a virtual ID that I use in order to start educating to the corporates, to the mass, about what is essentially Web3 and how do you actually look Web3, because it's so broad. You have the DeFi space, you also have the whole DAO space, dApps, everything comes from that channel. And you also have the other thing, which is much more from a culture shift. You have NFTs, you also have metaverse and immersive experience. You have VR, AR, holograms. So how does it work from all this combination of that? So I use the voice of NFT Queen Asia to start educating that to women and male as well in general. From my observation, back to answer where you come from, I feel the need now, what needs to happen is to use an affirmative action to start teaching, especially schools or even like in universities, about blockchain in general. As a start, what is blockchain? How do we utilize the technology of it? And I see that as a potential because I spoke to a couple of the university students even here. They don't have actually a blockchain as a course. So essentially, they learn how to program like different type of programming languages. But to understand what blockchain really is something they do as a side, whether it's an organization that they join or even like studying a simple course. So hence, the next project that I'm working on as part of the NFT Queen Asia, I'm partnering actually with a metaverse platform called UMetaWorld, where we are actually going to partner with one of the universities here for me to give a talk about the future of work model. So it's going to be an interesting project where we're going to launch it in a metaverse platform, and the students will have to create their own avatars and come in and listen to in terms of where they can start to generate their career there. And one of the rules that I actually mentioned to the university is that I would like to see more female, at least 50% of female participate in the talks. And I'm also working with Women in Blockchain Asia. I started introducing them to different universities here because they do run programs on how they can educate the students, especially on female students, on programming for blockchain. So that's actually something that you will start to see more female engineers, female blockchain developers, which is what I don't have. So as mentioned that right now, I'm building a DAO. So based on that, I need to start finding a developer. And a lot of developers that I found are actually male. And it's not easy to find. So I find there's a real need for female to start coming on board to Web3. Yeah.
Thank you, Hanis. That's just so true because I was at Digital Art Fair. We were trying to look for a developer, as we say, but like I don't recall, like this is not something that I thought about, but like what you just shared is like I don't remember a single female engineer that I worked with, unfortunately. That was so what you're doing with the university engagement for it sounds quite far away, but like next thing you know, next year you will have interns and which they're gonna be female and they're gonna be, junior staff, and then later on they become senior staff when they get older. So that's really something that we should start doing, not just, within the Web3 space, maybe out there in different organizations, there's something that we can take notes and think about that, because for the future, for females' future, or for us to kind of move forward to a more equal society, we need to start doing something. And what you said, affirmative actions, is exactly what we need. And Vinci, you are. I love that you were smiling the whole time when we were talking. So I took a photo in the back. But I would love to hear your thoughts on, like, as a digital creator, as a digital artist, and after yourself. What is your experience? I'm assuming that you have more experience in the metaverse compared to us in real life here. And what do you observe in your space? And what can we do to sort of bring in female empowerment and bring more opportunities for our future generation?
I love that question. And I just want to say it's been amazing hearing all the panelists are saying today. I'm smiling because there's this creative energy and this empowerment energy that is like transmitting across the planet right now, even though I'm in the metaverse. But it's absolutely incredible and so inspiring. And so, look, the story with Vinci, with me, like even before this whole Web3 thing is like, I started as like a singer-songwriter who was frustrated that I couldn't be a music producer. So I put myself in the deep end and I taught myself the program Ableton Live. And like that was a self-empowerment journey then. And then it then translated to Unreal Game Engine because I wanted to bring my visions to life and I had no idea about motion capture. You know what I mean? Like it's a typical like creator economy story that I'm in right now. And then it then progressed to the metaverse and Web3 and tokenomics. And like, I didn't come up in the crypto bro or whatever crypto culture. I really fell into it like last year when all the hype was really happening with NFTs. But I saw the use case for it, not just on a financial level and technological level, but on a social and cultural level, which means the most to me, and a creative level. And so, yeah, I invested time and energy to learn about these technologies. I just finished like a Wharton course on blockchain. But what's even more special is like joining, you know, All Stars Women DAO, and like I'm traveling across the world as well and immersing myself at all these conferences and to connect with like-minded women who are building all these incredible projects. And from that process, that's how I learn as well from all this real life use case experience. So with the theme of empowerment, that's also why I had the superhero character, but I don't want her to be a superheroine in a gimmicky sense, number one. And number two, Vinci as a superheroine is not here to save anyone. I think I know that the moral and message behind this and the novel is that we are all our own saviors, like we are our own avatars. If you think about the word avatar, it comes from the ancient Sanskrit word avatara, which is our consciousness in descent, obviously. So when we think about who we are and how do we want that to translate from a creative perspective or a business perspective, from a digital identity point of view in the metaverse, it really helps to think about your mission and your vision behind whatever you do in whatever vertical industry. And it's quite simple at the end of the day. And I think we all kind of share the same mission and vision. Like for me, it's empowering humanity and uplifting consciousness, because I believe the problem with Web 2 and the internet and to date has been, and the world, has been like a scarcity mindset. You know, everything's so competitive, right? And obviously, you know, I am a pragmatist. So there's this word called protopia. So it's like a pragmatic utopia. So I'm hoping that like from a timeline perspective, we anchor a positive one, because we're in this really interesting moment right now in human history where we're crystallizing where we want to go in our future. And that's why these events are so empowering and special as like a launch pad to inspire others. And then, you know, if you're not working on a project, but you're thinking about it, then you can really take a step back and think about what is your mission and vision and how do you want to contribute to this ecosystem? Because I believe everybody, you know, has a role and a place. And yeah, that's the mission for us all.
Thank you, Vinci. I don't know if you guys feel about it, but I just get somehow I'm looking at this avatar of yours, and I just got kind of like sucked into it. I don't know why, but that's the beauty of Web3 and technology, isn't it?
It's very mesmerizing.
Isn't it? Like it feels like I remember speaking to the Sophia robot before. I was at a panel with the Women's Foundation before and the Hanson robot. And at some point you kind of just okay, this is just really strange, but I'm really speaking to you, even though I know that you are somehow, you know, somewhere else is not actually here. But I find it really interesting. And for most of us who might not have seen a conversation with I guess in this setting in the metaverse, it is something to look forward to, because I'm pretty sure there will be more of this in the future, and more Vinci and more hopefully female avatar out there, or entertainer or creators out there using this sort of technology. So. We've gone through the first question on understanding what have we observed in the space, and I guess the second question that I have would like to pick your brains on it is like, how do we obviously understand that there is not a lot of females in the Web3, and how do we change that? I'll give you a little statistic from the art perspective and from what I've observed throughout my years in the fine art industry. Over in the whole museum, we have a statistics. Over all the museum in the whole world, female artists have been represented or collected by museum compared to men is 10%. 10%. So that is a very, big difference between male and female. And the reason of that, by studying our history, the reason of that is either female are not as represented as male in galleries, or they might not be enough. Enough support for female artists, because most of the time, when female artists want to go have an exhibition, they might have children, they have to stay at home. There's a lot of different reasons for that, and they're not as outspoken or they're not as courageous as other male. But the end of this result, right, the research numbers come up with 10%. How do we change that? So at Digital Art Fair, we have something that I started last year by our Digital Art Foundation, is to incubate female artists. And we actively go out to look for female artists to represent them. We assign them a mentor, we give them exhibition space. Hopefully that was starting to change the mindset of female and saying that, okay, well, we can, even though is a small opportunity, it might not be big giving you a solo exhibition, you can present your work and you can be encouraged to make more artwork. Now, what do you guys think? What do you girls think in your area? How can we change that percentage? Or I hope that's not 10% compared to what the museum figure that I gave you. But in your perspective, how do we change that? What can we do?
Maybe I'll take this question. So, like VNCCII itself, I'm actually part of the same DAO, which is All Stars Women. So it's founded by Leila, which is based in Dubai. So every cities I travel to, I made sure that I know a woman, part of the DAO or different type of groups who I can connect with, and they will eventually introduce me to different women Web3 community there. And somehow, one of the things that I notice as well is that we need more women in this space, because like I said, every conferences, every events that I go to are mostly from investors, from even like developers, entrepreneurs are mostly male. So one of the things besides affirmative action that should have been done for people actually at the grassroots level, like, students, causes, like women who are actually interested to understand more the basic of what is Web3, what is cryptocurrency, what's the difference between a crypto and an NFTs. So this is something that I'm actually starting to educating and advocating, not just for women in general, but across all. So one of the pilot projects that I mentioned that I'm doing on future of work model is one of my intention and my motivation behind this is that I want to bring in more junior female students to actually understand the underlying where Web3 will be taking them in terms of the future. So this is important for people to really see that Web3 is not just a fluff, not just a hype, but this is where it's taking us to the future. All this immersive experience, like we've seen here in Digital Art Fair Asia, the kind of like how you are the user, you are the investor, you are your own contributor. And at the same time, we are entering the whole open economic model. What is that? This is why education is key. And of course, for that, I would say, for anyone, for any female here who would like to know more about Web3, please do keep in touch with me, because I will actually also run a couple of talks about educating what Web3 is and how you can actually start utilizing Web3 as a creator. Yeah.
can we'll do the Q&A at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said that you want to encourage women and all. So I'm an artist myself, but like you said, absolutely zero tech. But I have 2 daughters, and listening to you guys, it's like really, really inspiring. My younger daughter is an artist already. She's about 9.5 years. But where do you start for them? Like, I have been looking for opportunities where, there are women who could go to schools and, start it off early to encourage them to have some workshops or something that engages them and, creates that interest. Because even in school, when I go and see, it's the boys, right? They're doing the Roblox, the digital stuff, and all of that. My girls are super interested, but because I have zero interest in it, it's like, okay, where do I take you girls? So I just want to know, how early can one start?
I can give you a stat because I have one right here for you. So last year at Digital Art Fair, sorry to jump in. Last year at Digital Art Fair, we have a very interesting statistic. Female male collectors, 50-50%, which is very interesting because I think the medium is not particularly male oriented or female oriented. Some of the art is kind of more like neutral in a way. My youngest collector last year, our youngest collector, was 13 years old. 13 years old, he came with his mom and dad. He came to the fair. He was interested in, I guess, cryptocurrency and collecting art. His mom and he didn't buy anything expensive. Like we have something quite, I would say, friendly, like 0.34 ETH, something like that. I don't remember exactly, or 0.1 ETH, which is like $1,000, $2,000 Hong Kong dollars at that time. He asked his mom and dad, I really remember, it was a reception. He was standing there with my colleague and opening computer. I was like, who's that? He's like a 13 years old teenage boy. And he asked his mom and dad I was going to borrow a computer, mom, and I'm going to open a MetaMask account. And he collected his first piece of art. He was 13 years old. But then you have to think about that. When you're 13, you must need to know the basic of what he's doing first. Well, think about that. Digital Art Fair last year was the first year when Web3 were actually happening. So no one actually know what's going on. Like when we started Digital Art Fair, no one was talking. There was no NFT was not a word when I started Digital Art Fair. I went on the internet and just kind of doing all the research and like, okay, this is not good enough. So let me do something better, right? That sort of like idea is not something that I didn't learn it from a course, right? I did read about blockchain. I did go to a course in Sotheby's and learn about it. But what happened in the innovation the last 2 years is very much like self-encourage. And for young kids, I think for young kids is as much. I have a 4-year-old daughter, so I kind of understand, like why you want to learn more. You see her excitement when she talk about technology, which is a great, great thing. And give her more opportunities, like what Hanis is doing, going to different events, give different books, or even whatever there are the courses available. I'm sure there are some coming up very soon. My partner, our head of the business development, is actually a university lecturer in Hong Kong, and we also partner with different charity. One of them is called Metro Utopia. They do courses for young children. And there are different places that are doing something like that. But I think that you are at a great start and thinking about, my daughter would love to learn more. And you're not the first parent that told me that, oh God, that was amazing, and I want her to learn more. But yeah, what do you ladies think?
I've actually, I think it's last year, one of the organizer of a fashion tech summit in Hong Kong told me he has a project to do coding school for kids. I think learning how to code, there's a lot of organizations that have been doing that quite young, and I think it's great because it's obviously the basics, right? And for what I've been observing actually is like working with a lot of girls. Girls love art in general. And I see so much opportunities for them to jump into Web3 through this passion, right? And lately I've been discussing with a company called MaxCity, which is a bit similar to what I explained earlier. It's a platform, it's a DAO actually, that is also an NFT marketplace. And so they support a lot of projects through art. And I just feel I'm quite excited to why not work on a project with girls, right? And sort of get them to do an NFT collection that we could then use maybe to raise fund for more STEM scholarship for girls, right? Like, I'm still at the early stage of that thought process, but I just feel like there's so many opportunities like this where it could be both beneficial for getting girls on board, but also helping them grow their interests even more further in their studies. So I think just to go back quickly on what we were discussing, for my space, more on the entrepreneurship side, I'm also quite excited to see that obviously raising capital has always been the biggest problem for women in business. And I see Web3 as also an opportunity for more women to start investing in projects that they believe in, really using it as a vehicle to fund projects that even on a global basis, right? Like, this is the beauty of Web3. It's like you don't have to, you could create DAOs and have people from all around the world just because they have the same vision and values and sort of start funding various projects that they think they believe in, really. So I think for an interesting number that I overheard this morning as another event, Web3 event, apparently 10% of women first investment is actually in crypto. So I think there's definitely a raise in interest for women in crypto and really trying to get into that investment journey, and that's very encouraging, I think.
That's an interesting figure as well. 10% of you, just 10%.
Their first investment would be crypto investment.
I guess it's also something that to think about is because just also the ease of investment compared to, I mean, if you are connected to the community, which is like, sorry, I didn't catch your name. Shut up. That you coming to an event like this, and then you getting yourself more educated, and then you can like spread the word to your friends and to your daughter, to her friends, and and then at the end you're like, okay, next thing you know, they're like, okay, wow, we are talking right now.
Yeah, I think what you were mentioning as well, which is interesting, is sometimes there's the barrier of the technology, right? You're thinking, okay, I don't have the capabilities to actually do my own NFT collection. Yeah, but you know what
But you can.
Yeah, but what I discover is like there is actually also companies that help you facilitate this process now, and I do think that this is where the trend's gonna go, because all of us not gonna start learning how to code, right?
Yeah, let's ask an expert here, because at the back here we got Vinci. Like she mentioned earlier, she taught herself to making all of this motion traction and all this different technology here. How did you start, and what tips can you give us to say, how do we get girls motivated? Obviously, you have a very strong can-do motivation for yourself. Like, how do you start, and what is your advice?
First of all, I just want to say I'm not an expert. Full disclosure, I don't think anyone is an expert, because then it's kind of acknowledging that your growth journey is finished, and I won't stand for that. I feel like I'm always growing every day, every single day. I'm learning and growing, and so with that, I'm going to approach this question more from a philosophical point of view, especially like for the young people, but I think it's for everyone. It really is the simple abundance mindset. It is a can-do attitude. It's a mentality of growth hacking. Now, it's easier said than done, because that's the macro thinking. Then the micro is you've got to do it. But if you're young and you're coming up and you're not sure exactly like what area you want to be in, I really encourage to like just try lots of different things and expand the neural connections of the mind. I can recall vividly like my childhood, like I tried so many different things, and I think that's informed how my brain has worked to this date, in the sense of my mind being a bit polymathic in terms of creativity. And I think that has helped me, and even so like in the business world, because you can think laterally and have some divergent thinking as well. And that's part of actually why I call this project Vinci. It's not saying I'm like Leonardo da Vinci. It's more like what does it represent? It's more like the pursuit of a polymathic mindset. And I do believe like we need specialists, of course, in this day and age. But I think what will help with this abundance thinking is the belief that you can learn more than one thing and try something new, because it's going to have that positive network effect, both neurologically and then like socially in your network, where you can make a positive impact because you're bringing all these different thought processes together from different disciplines. So that's that. And then there's this movie called Tomorrowland by Disney. It's a little cheesy, but it's quite interesting because they got the doomsday clock. and they're in the classrooms and they're going, the world's going to end, the world's going to end, the world's going to end. And then the main character, Casey, she puts her hand up and she goes, how are we going to fix it? And it's a classic scene in the movie because the teacher's so shocked because he's like, I'm just not used to that sort of thinking. Well, that's the sort of thinking like Casey that I'd like to see every kid, like everyone have that sort of thinking. How can we fix it? Not accept that things are bad and will be bad, but think about how they're going to fix it. So it really comes down to a mindset and then implementing action.
I think I heard as well from, totally agree with you, Vinci. I think I heard one thing that could be fun to try is just to play Roblox with your kids, really, and sort of like immerse yourself in this metaverse and try to understand what it is about. And that could be as simple as this.
Thank you, Vinci. Thank you, Ines. We actually are approaching. Time goes really fast. Before we go down to Q&A, is there anything else you'd like to share before we jump to Q&A?
I have a message actually for everyone. So for women out there who are interested to understand how they can actually start making a living and learning what Web3 is, do believe that somehow we can always start this. We can always believe in yourself. At the end of the day, what Vinci was saying, you have to start believing in yourself first. And once you realize that you can dream, you can achieve whatever you want, and this is what the power of Web3 will be able to give you. The community of Web3 that I met, there's so much all about inclusiveness, collaborating with each other. People are open to that. And this is something that I feel is so refreshing that I never came across in my past career life. So if there's anything that you would like to learn and reach out, please do reach out to me. You have my number, my LinkedIn, my Instagram, and my Twitter.
Thank you. Thank you, Hanis. Ines, do you have anything else you want to share before we jump into Q&A? We do have quite a lot of questions.
Okay, let's go for the Q&A then.
And for our audience here, if you have a question, please raise your hand. We will give you a microphone. So, I'm pretty sure that we dive in quite a lot of topics in between, like even though we didn't get like a lot of questions in, but I think we're sharing of a lot of like very insightful just experience and advice for our female audience. One of the questions here, the first one is, what is the future of education and work in Web3? I'm just saying, what are the works, what are the occupation available, and what are the education available in Web3? We kind of touched a little bit over there. And what can the metaverse offer that the physical world couldn't? What's the first one? Sorry. What's the future and education and work in Web3?
Well, I think it's obviously designers, creatives, like everyone that's going to be able to build really in the metaverse. These are obviously, which is exciting because it's very creative people, right? Like whatever anyone's going to be imagining, we'll need people to help us build it in the metaverse. So I think this is probably the biggest area where there's going to be a lot of jobs.
Yes, I agree. We also mentioned something about engineering, and cooking.
Architects, because like you have to design like buildings in a metaverse or even like a game, for instance. Game developers, game designers, definitely the future of work. Artists is not just about, you may know more about that. It's also about the digital artist part of it, like the artificial intelligence. So this is where technology started to come. How do you build embedded artificial intelligence within arts, for instance? So even you started seeing like advertising,
marketing,
blockers, for
what Ines mentioned, investors, investment and advisor, consultant, the list continues in the Web3. Actually, it's not much different from the Web2.
It's not much different, but what differentiates is that if you are the creator in Web3, you are also can take that opportunity to become your own investor as well as being your own owner. So you're the customer, you're the own owner as well as an investor in there. Depends how you want to utilize that.
Okay. What about you, Vinci? What do you think from your observation? Education and work in the Web3. Obviously, digital creator is a big thing right now in the metaverse. And what else did you observe?
Yeah, it's interesting because Vinci's my company too. So I am, day-to-day a business director of Vinci, but, also a multimedia creative, a live performer. So I'm juggling a lot of hats, but I think that is the future of the world. It can be if you choose that future too. And it's also an acceptance that there's a rapid acceleration of technology. Like back in 2017, I read the book The Singularity is Near by Ray Kurzweil, and that actually kind of inspired my thinking for creating a fictional super sentient, which means it's self-evident, artificial intelligence superheroine character. And I did that for the reason of contemplating actually how AI will work with humanity, because that is our reality. And that's part of why I use creativity to kind of help shape AI as a positive force for good, and also bringing humanity to the forefront, so humans know their intrinsic value, because there needs to be a healthy symbiotic relationship with humans and AI. And obviously we've seen all the AI generative art, and it's rapidly accelerating. But my biggest advice in terms of education and work is still the growth hack mindset. There's room for everyone, and it's the classic, shaman's tale. There's two wolves. Which wolf do you feed, love or fear? You feed the wolf of love, which is that acceptance that there's room for everyone, and that you can learn whatever you want to learn. And there's going to be so many jobs that won't even exist today. That's the thing. You have metaverse tour guides. It's really limitless, the imagination for even job titles. So in order to flow with the universe and the rapid acceleration of technology, you not only need that mindset, but you need to be able to even yourself envision a new sort of role as well, and create a role yourself if you want, if you think of something, because, we are actively creating the future right now.
Thank you. I do have a question following up with what you guys mentioned. I think that's one thing that people do often ask. Why do we think that Web3 is more, how would you say, compared to Web3, what Web2, sorry, compared to Web2, what is the difference besides the definition of it? Why is it more open-minded? Why is it more accepting for female? Is there a reason for that, or from your observation, why is that more? Because what we mentioned right now, right, it looks similar, right? The education and the work and the opportunities are very similar. But what makes Web3 so much more open-minded to female to come in, especially related to our topic today?
I'll take that question.
Recording in progress.
I feel, in general, for this, Web3 is about how you can read, write, and own. Web2 is about how you can read and write. So the difference between what Web2 is that Web2, it's being, you are able to actually build, for instance, and interact, play, socializing, but it's still managed by a centralized company, which is like Facebook or Google. So from monetization perspective, of course, it goes back to the corporate, right? From how the profit sharing actually are being made. Web3, what differentiates Web3 is that you can do read, write, and own. Essentially, if you are the creator of the project, but you can also start monetizing your own collection, for instance, art collection based on that, by selling it to your peers, but your peers could also become an investor once they own a piece of your NFTs of the arts or a collection of your token. So that's the difference between what Web3 can empower you. So in a way, we are creating an ecosystem of entrepreneurship in this Web3. That's what essentially is. You are encouraging much more creativity. You are also encouraging much more entrepreneurship within the Web3 space. And women in general, I would say we are a bunch of creative people. So this is why I see a lot more chances where women can come on board onto Web3. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that kind of should change into a different space. I think we kind of get a full picture of work and education, and why is in Web3, what are the opportunities out there, what kind of occupation are there available for female, and not even just, the particular gender, but for everyone, and more open-minded because of the Web3 nature. Okay, we do have another question coming up, but let's take a question from the audience first, shall we? Yes.
How can corporate companies contribute to getting young girls, like 9-year-olds, to get in there? Like working for a corporate company that doesn't do anything within Web3, but still you have a platform, you have the means to do something. What would you advise those companies to start with?
That's a very good question. Because usually most of the corporates, the way the corporates are seeing what are the opportunities for them to enter Web3 is seeing the kind of products and services that they're offering and how they can enhance the products or services to enter the metaverse or the Web3 space. In the concept of how do we teach more younger girls or younger generations, I think it goes back to schooling or, education. So one of the interesting, earlier this year, I had a conversation with, I was giving a talk in a school here in Hong Kong. It's to the teachers actually on how they can start using Web3 as a way for them to monetize their own content, curriculums. Because you can actually monetize, you can actually put your content on an NFT, on a blockchain. And from there, it can be in sync and people can actually access it and you can still be earning money from that. It's a new ways of how teachers will be able to spread their words. So in the case to your question, I believe it needs to start first the value of the corporates, what and the vision and the mission that they want to enter into. And of course, how do they want to target the younger generations is going through via education. So maybe they can partner, for instance, with certain schools or even certain educator who are actually looking at teaching like girls who can code, for instance, or even teaching about the basic of digital arts, for instance. So that's what I feel it is, yeah.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is that everyone is at the beginning of their journey, and there's nothing better than showing that kind of vulnerability to potential clients or anyone who's actually the corporate want to have the conversation with, and sort of bring them on that journey. So let's say it could simply like involving them in like what is it that you're going to be doing in Web3 and sort of educating them on joining them to join really you on this journey. And I feel there's going to be a lot of trust built in that way, and also a way to definitely just reach more potential clients in the future as well, right? So I think it's just a very interesting time to just be open about the fact that you're starting this journey and bringing, it could be youth, it could be clients, existing clients, on how to go together in Web3, really.
I was really glad to be able to share this. Last year in Digital Art Fair, I just started a business, and pitching, sponsors or partners was extremely difficult because no one knew what we were talking about. I think most of people would be like, "What are you talking about? NFT, go away!" Trying to find a sponsor was extremely hard, extremely hard. So, but I was like, I have a can-do attitude, so I pitch, big organization, small organization, everyone that I can speak to. I just basically like, "Hey, can I speak to you about a really great opportunity in the Web3 and supporting our community?" First year, it was, difficult, but we managed to pull through. This year, big corporate, we got very, very lucky with some really great corporate to support that. We work with Samsung, we have LG. This year we have Goldman Sachs to sponsor us. We have Invest Hong Kong and a bunch of different other corporates, Sandbox, etc. And this is just the beginning, which is something that really exciting for the Web3 space. Is for art and cultural community. For us, it's been a completely new aspect out there. Just like everything is just so exciting, and people are big corporate are so just giving examples. Like they are looking at new innovative way to connect with new clients. So, and obviously, we talk about big corporate. We've got to think about what do they want. Right. So, for example, I believe some of the corporates that we're working with are looking for new clients, new generation. Well, for that, how do they distribute in the future, right? So, for example, used to be very Web3, big organization. Now, because the younger generation are looking for different ways to invest, different way to connect, that's why they were like, okay, I do see a opportunity in Web3, and especially art community, the younger generation who are interested in the Web3 and collecting art are going to the younger generation, and that's why they find it attractive to work with digital art fair. With these are our audience are younger. Right? Look at our panelists here, like where you have very young female panelists together talking about female empowering. And I think the whole economy is kind of like shifting right now, and like looking for something more sustainable, looking for something more equal, looking for something more innovative and creative. And that's exciting, right? That's what we're talking about right now: empowerment opportunities, and what are there for the big organization like who I mentioned earlier. They are looking for new ways to connect with the audience, and maybe that's something that we really look for when we pitch or we talk to a big organization, when we want to encourage them to change change their mindset just a little bit, to look at new opportunity. Look at this, like what are other people doing, and there are examples to see what big corporates are doing. Another opportunity that I observed, besides Goldman Sachs, we sponsor us. Julie Bears, another banking, they're also kind of looking at a lot of different ways to engage with the younger generation. So they have an art prize that they put up together, and thinking about that, it's like, why do they do that? Digital art, right? Because there are opportunities out there, and there are ways to support and grow the Web3 community. So that's something that we're thinking about as well. Do we have more questions from our audience before I jump in the last one? Because I think we're kind of running out of time. Yeah, we could. Okay, so I have the last one here, which is kind of related to what I just mentioned about sustainability. How can women fulfill Web3's promise of inclusivity and community building? And how do we ensure a sustainable development Web3 in the metaverse? It's a tough question.
Can you repeat that question again?
How can women fulfill Web3's promise of inclusivity and community building? And how do we ensure a sustainable development of Web3 in the metaverse? So a lot of people talking about sustainable. So I think the first question is inclusivity and community building. And how do you ensure that's sustainable for female and the whole metaverse building in the Web3?
Okay, I think inclusiveness is very important in Web3. That's what I feel myself, being immersive in different organizations and different community. So I'm part of different DAOs, different women in blockchain groups, women in Web3 groups. One thing is that I feel, the first thing is people realize that I was new at that time. I wanted to join, and they are very welcoming. They invited you to be part of the community. At the same time, when you started to say, hey, I need help, just ask, just raise your voice to say, I need help. And you'll be surprised at the amount of people who want to help you. Like everywhere I went, I was very captivated with the generosity of not just women, male as well, who are actually willing to help you and want to bring you on board. So the inclusiveness is also part of the ways where I feel, regardless from any background you come from, as long as you have the good intention within you and you know that you want to make an impact in terms of what are the changes you want to make to the community and society. And that's where, if people believe in you, people want to help you. So it's just, that's the opportunities that I see. So in terms of sustainable development,
the Web3 and the metaverse, that's a difficult one, isn't it? I think the whole sustainable, like how do you continue building this, is not just kind of like stop right here and then it disappeared, because there's a lot of people asking about okay, is it like a hype? Is it going to finish this year? How do you make sure it's sustainable? And I think that is an easy answer to answer, is that because when you start a project. When you start a project, you're promising someone. You make a vision and mission statement, as what Vinci mentioned earlier. Your vision and mission statement, and you don't give up, right? If there's a bunch of people building Web3 together, it's tough this year, especially
it's tough.
Their market. But to ensure this is sustainable, this is continued, this is not something that is a hype. It happened last year, and then we stop. Is to continue your project. There was a lot of people just kind of, we went out fun and we stopped, and because it's tough, and we just stopped doing that. And I guess it's still same as any business that you run. It doesn't
This
just
is the game of startup. The longer you stay, the more you're willing to, you're going to actually survive, right?
yeah, you pull through, right? You like, you use difficulty, you're still going out. You won that round of fun, you go raise, you look for investor, you change your business model, you kind of adapt and adopt. And I think that's the only way to ensure that your business is sustainable and problem solving, creative thinking.
I think one thing we also need to consider is that the new generation is really part of their life, right? I think in the gaming industry is actually almost 50-50 between girls and boys, which is super encouraging because this is part of their life, right? And I think maybe for us it is not, so that's why it seems like we might face the same gender parity problems, but inequality. But I think at the end of the day, it might not be the case because the new generation it's really part of their world. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's very encouraging. I look forward to see what's going to happen in the Web3 in the next couple of years. And I think we are running out of time. And I guess thank you all the panelists today for joining us. And Vinci in the Metaverse, appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I was just fighting an intergalactic space battle, hence the interception, but I'm back, and I just want to say it's so great to be here, and let's all build the metaverse for humanity and celebrate that we are at this time of history where it's a new cultural, economic, digital renaissance.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.